Hey Luke, not sure if you've gone over this or not, but what happened to the new Perfect Dark game? I was really excited for it, loved the original. I heard that it got cancelled.
There were some back and forth things. Some people were claiming that sources said the trailer they dropped was basically faked. Then later, I believe it was like the game director or one of the directors on the project came out and said, no, it was real. Either way, I don't think it looked that good for being so far in development, so many years in, you know? I don't know. It just didn't look ready. It didn't look ready. This is the trailer we're talking about from last year. And I understand like there's some interesting ideas and concepts here, but this does not look like a cutting edge next gen or current gen game even. This looks like a PS4, Xbox One game, which is just tough. You know, graphics aren't everything, but it's also just in terms of general movement and level design and everything. It's very compact, it's very suffocating. And so I think, you know, if Xbox is trying to figure out what games can we sell Game Pass subscriptions with, what games can really showcase our platform the best, I'm not sure if this is it. Like this could have been really big maybe 10 years ago, but it just doesn't look like it's one of those showcase games. And the thing that you're going to see over the next decade is that Xbox is just going to continue to focus on the games that are kind of the big budget stuff that is very marketable. And I don't know if this was as marketable as they needed it to be, you know? Not to mention there were rumors and discussions of development hell. There were rumors that they just kept working on vertical slices and things that looked good in boardrooms, but it didn't necessarily come together into a like cohesive vision for a video game that was going to be what they needed it to be. So, you know, I just think there's multifaceted elements going on here. My general approach is to just remind people they don't tend to cancel games that they thought they could make a lot of money on. You know, if they thought they could make a bunch of money on this because it's so good, they would put it out. So if they looked at this and they said, I don't think we're making the money back, it probably wasn't like that amazing. Now, sometimes you can get pretty good games that get canceled because they're just not like the economics haven't worked out. You know, they spend too much on it. They spend too much time on it. Like BioShock Infinite, great game, but they basically made 2 or 3 video games in the course of that game's development cycle because they kept kind of restarting and redoing so much because Ken Levine's a perfectionist. And so that drove the development costs up a ton. So it's a great game, but a great game that cost, not saying BioShock cost as much, but a great game that cost $100 million. If it only makes 85, it still doesn't make sense to put it out. And that's the unfortunate reality of the industry. It's just like, it's not just about quality. It's also about the product as something to be sold. And so for something like Perfect Dark, they might've just looked at it and been like, I don't know if we can actually like sell this and make something off of it, you know? Which we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? So it could have been the game was actually amazing and they canceled it because they don't know what they're doing. Or it could have been that they were like, you have some vertical slices, but there isn't really a video game here. And internal reviews of the game are not going too well. Like, yeah, we just don't know what we don't know. But I don't know. Based on this, I don't think it looks good enough to get like as much dev time and money as they were getting. Like Microsoft would much rather pour that money into another Oblivion remake style project that's way cheaper, way easier to put together, and that makes way more money than this. You know, this looks very interesting to me. I'm glad. I'm just saying for the mass market, I don't think Xbox thought it looked very interesting or as like interesting enough, because the age of like AA kind of lower end AAA games that are not like the big blockbuster, I think those days are just over. You can't justify spending AAA money on something that's not going to blow up and be like number 1 or 2 in the charts. Like you have to have it be a top performer. And I think they just were not sure if this was going to be that, which, you know, fair. There's a lot of other things in their pipeline that I don't know if they're going to be anywhere close to chart toppers, but there were all, I mean, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And in this case, there were a lot of rumors and there was a lot of discourse about potential like problems within the studio in terms of actual like development and execution of some of these things. So who knows the real story? We probably find out the real story in like a month when Jason Schreier does an article, but yeah.